they're holding back because they don't know what's going to happen, right? They don't know, are they going to be profitable this year or not because of this new added expense? So all this creates kind of uncertainty into the market.
Welcome to another edition of our podcast series here on what has been a very difficult week in Canada. And I don't know if the difficulty will increase or decrease. So last weekend, today's Friday. Last weekend, we had Valentine's Day, which was hectic because, single people don't celebrate Valentine's Day anymore. We had people rallying made in Canada on Flag Day on Saturday. We had Sunday recovering from the snow. And then on Monday, we had Family Day. All right. And we're still recovering from the snow. All right. Well, we're here on a Friday. And then also on Monday, we had the airline incident.
Oh, yes.
So we're up to date.
Okay. A lot going on.
A lot going on. So we want to decipher what this might mean for ourselves, our finances, our family. How does this all play into it? Where do you want to start? I think let's start with what's happening. Early voting has started for our election. All right. That was yesterday, the 20th. Early voting for Ontario's election has begun. What's your take on that?
Most important thing, go out and vote.
Go out and vote.
Doesn't matter who you vote for, NDP, Liberal, even the Green or Conservative, just go out and vote.
Are you an early voter, or you go on the day? You like going on the day
this year, because I don't know where I'm going to be during the actual election date, so we're probably going to vote early
as possible,
right? Because we want to make, and guess what? Even though people say that their vote doesn't really matter, every vote does count. I should say. I mean, that's how Donald Trump got elected.
Yeah,
right?
Because you want to get into the grassroots and everyone being able to cast their vote and ensure that they make a difference or make a change and supporting the candidate who they think is best. All right.
Exactly.
So that is for our provincial election here in Ontario. We also got the federal election coming up. We might have a prime minister for a couple of months, and then we have the election happening. How are things shaping up in that regard as we get set for that election?
Well, it looks
later in the year.
It looks like it's Mark Carney to lose right now. He's probably going to be the next prime minister, as you say, interim for a few months, if that. He might even just, as soon as he's elected, he might just even recall Parliament and call an election to be best positioned again to fight Polyev and also to fight Donald Trump.
So do you think this election coming up is, we always say this, but do you think this is one of the more important elections for Canada?
One of the most important in my lifetime. The last time this was really important to me was had to deal with acid rain with Brian Mulroney. But right now we're at a crossroad, and we've got to pick the right government, both at the provincial level and at the federal level, that will tackle this massive issue about the Trump tariffs, not just against Canada, but against all over the world. So we've got to get together as Canadians and pick
so do your research as a voter. You must be educated. So do your research as a voter and make the decisions when that time is ready for you, right?
Exactly.
When that time is coming. Now, talking about research, there has been a surge in supporting Made in Canada. Now, it's not that easy to buy Made in Canada, because as we would have done some research, or we have done some readings, it would suggest that even though they might have some Made in Canada, the brand could have been originated in the U.S. And so it's not as easy. So you got to do your research.
You're right.
So how do you do that?
I mean, one, do we have time to do that? Do people have time? We've got busy schedule. We're hoping that the companies, the grocery stores, will do the work for us. I mean, you look at Heinz ketchup. I love my ketchup, and it's gotta be Heinz. Yeah. Is this an American product or is it a Canadian product? Right. Heinz left Leamington in 2014, and people swore, I'll never ever buy Heinz because that was the loss of about 700 jobs. Everybody was going to go to French, and then now Heinz is back in Mont-Royal, Quebec, employing 1,000 people.
And it's now made in Canada.
It's made in Canada with some Canadian tomatoes, but the company is American.
You're right. The headquarters.
And where does the profits go? Back to the U.S. So it's hard to kind of do the right thing in terms of buying Canadian.
And it's because over the years, decades, that we've built this relationship. Canada and the U.S. have built a strong relationship, and their trade is so strong, intertwined, that it's difficult to break that chain so easily. Exactly. So if you want to do your research and do your due diligence in made in Canada, you can do so.
Yeah, it's probably going to be easier when it comes to groceries, right? If you're buying, let's say, vegetables, there is that made in Canada label that for sure that it's made here. If you like your beer, your craft beers, right, that are made in Canada, it's a bit more easier, but like you said, our economies is so intertwined. Look in terms of automobile, it goes back and forth, many times before the finished product comes out in either Canada or the U.S. manufacturing, that we don't even know what is Canadian,
what's true Canadian, right? Yeah. So staying on tariffs, what does this mean for our markets? We've seen the stock market go up, it's pulled back, technologies are dragging in Canada, energy is surging. Now, what does that mean going forward as an investor? How do I navigate these tariffs again? That's coming up, aluminum, on all these other products. What's happening with the stock market, and how do we navigate that? What is my goal as an investor trying to predict what's going forward?
Yeah. One, it's hard to predict.
Yeah.
But one of the things we've talked about a couple of times, what the markets doesn't like is uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we know that Donald is bringing a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Having said that, the markets have kind of taken into consideration the fact that those tariffs may not come into play, because we've seen the TSX go up, and also the U.S. markets are also up. Yeah. So they're kind of betting that cooler heads will prevail, and as a result of that, those tariffs will not come into play.
Right.
But if they're wrong, because only one person knows exactly what he's going to do.
Right.
What if they're wrong? Well, poised to see kind of a pullback. Yeah. Definitely, at least in Canada, in terms of various structures. Right. So the auto industry, right? We're probably going to see a pullback here. We're also going to see a pullback in the non-oil sands, petroleum. We're probably going to see a pullback into that, and anything that we have a high degree. When I mean high degree, 90% or more of exports that are going to the U.S., whatever that company, we're going to see, a decrease or a pullback. And right now, it's kind of hurting companies on both sides, because companies that were looking to hire, to invest, do some capital, expenditures, they're holding back because they don't know what's going to happen, right? They don't know, are they going to be profitable this year or not because of this new added expense? So all this creates kind of uncertainty into the market, and maybe if you don't have the risk tolerance an aggressive risk tolerance, you may want to stay on the sidelines.
So it's just a wait and see approach.
Yeah. Or this could be a good buying opportunity.
So buy the stocks that you know that are going to rally through all of this. Like your financial stocks.
Financial stuff. I mean, I almost call them defensive stocks. Through thick and thin, through good times, bad times, your big five banks, they're poised to do well. Even other financial companies such as the insurance company. You know me, I love my dividends. As long
old
as
people love their dividends.
I heard what you said about me when I was away, right? I'm watching you. But
your risk tolerance is a little bit less.
Exactly. But if you're buying companies, that are kind of defensive, which basically means through thick and thin, they'll withstand the test of time. Plus, you could buy them on the dip, right? And still generate some quarterly dividends.
That's right.
Where you would reinvest those dividends and buying additional shares.
So in the long term, buying those defensive might be beneficial even if tariffs are instituted or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, now I know a lot of people are, getting gambles on crypto because certain high place individuals in the U.S. are crypto oriented, so they're figuring that the markets should look favorably to that. This is probably a more aggressive play. I would stay a bit more safe and secure.
I stay where I'm knowledgeable of.
Exactly.
I don't go into that. But there are people who like to play in crypto. That's fine.
That's fine.
Okay, staying on stocks. This is what happens when you're so in tune to investing and wanting to ensure that you're choosing the right. Did you look at Delta stock?
Oh, goodness.
On Tuesday?
Yes. Just like the plane. Right?
Oh my God.
All right.
So no one was
injured. No one died, so I could make that quip. But
the airline industry, we did. I know you do your research. We've seen more of these incidents happening. Airline stocks might be. You're thinking, is this a buying opportunity for me? Looking at the market, but what does the numbers say? I always go back to the numbers. You look at investing, you want to go into a certain, buying a certain stock, you look at their numbers. What does the numbers say about the airline industry, safety, and the stocks?
Yeah, I mean, prior to 9/11, it was probably a good, not 9/11, prior to COVID. And actually 9/11 had also an impact. But prior to COVID, it was a good industry to kind of invest in. I mean, it has its ups and downs, but after COVID, we saw a massive drop. I mean, Air Canada, prior to COVID was a stock in the 40s, and now it's below 20, right? It's around 17. But we saw after the Delta Airline flight that crashed at Pearson, we saw all airlines drop. Now, if you take a look at the long-term history, maybe it's a good time to buy. You're buying on the low, and then eventually
it does rebound.
It does rebound because you know what they say. Airline travel is one of the safest, if not the most safest mode of transportation in the world. I mean, I read something, and you were there with me, 2023 from the Euro News. It said, of all commercial jet airlines, there was no accident in 2023 from the Euro News. Now, this doesn't count, the small planes, but we're talking the large airlines, commercial airlines.
Carriers.
Carriers. And their safety record is basically 1 out of 1.3 or 1.3 million flights on a daily basis. So this is one of the safest mode of transportation. So it is, and what we see also is that after a crash, there's so much investigation, and they make sure that whatever went wrong with this particular crash does not repeat via technology and pilot training.
So important. All right, so do your research. Go out and vote. Of course, study your stocks, look at the numbers, make your decision. And defensive might be the way to go with the tariffs looming. So that's a recap. And that's our Friday edition here of our podcast series. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, we'll be back for another new episode. So like, subscribe. This is the TF team. Hopefully we don't have Pierre here next time. So we have someone new. Take care. Bye-bye for now.
Bye for now.